This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse.
So we were just talking about the move from once COVID happened to London. Were you in New York? You were in New York right before that, right?
I'm pretty much raised in New York, went to school in New York, worked in New York. Yeah, I'm a New Yorker and met my husband in New York. And he's British, and he always expressed this desire to come back to London especially after we had a daughter. And it just wasn't in the cards for me, really, mainly because of work. I was just starting to pick up momentum. So I was, I don't know if this is the right thing for me to do. So we never actually did it. We had this whole plan too. We did a 5-year plan. I said, when she reaches 5 years old, we will reconsider all these options. And if but this, every clause that you can ever think of, we had this entire plan mapped out. And then I remember the 5 years came and I was like, I'm not ready. And then I had just booked Mighty Ducks.
I'm looking at your resume trying to figure out like where in this, because you come back and you had to come back and do basically Blindspot and like
pilot, and it all got shut down.
Okay, I want to hear all of this though. Like I want to hear, especially because you start more in Broadway, right? Especially being in New York, or Broadway didn't happen till a little bit later.
It didn't happen till a little bit later, I would say. Yes, I started in theater, but mostly like my own black box theater that I would self-produce and put up all around New York, which I love doing, by the way. It's so great.
Of course. But it's the grind. It's the grind.
It's the grind. But yes, and then I started getting into television out there. I was taking, I think, some on-camera courses, and I just started wetting my feet with commercials, and then started doing more television and film, and that naturally grew and grew. And yeah, so just going back to the whole COVID thing. So when COVID hit, it was just a good time for us to reconsider where to live. And I was just like, yeah, let's just go to London and see what happens. Let's just try it out for a good 6 months. Things are not going to be open by then, but it'll be great. And then we just ended up falling in love with it here. My daughter loved it out here. So we decided to stay, and mainly because the industry changed and made it so easy for me to cope with that move, because everything suddenly were self-tapes and online. So it didn't matter where you were. And I remember my agent even saying, it doesn't matter. You could be on the moon. I don't care where you are. Just send me a tape. And I was like, okay, great. And
so let's talk logistics of that, because I have 2 actors that actually just wrote in the other day and they were like, I want to move to Spain. I want to move to Portugal. And I don't know how to have this conversation with my team. Do I still come back for recurs, or do I still like what?
Yeah.
So what was your guys' discussion? Also, this being COVID, the beginning of COVID, it's a little bit different, but was there a discussion of, okay, I'll come back, but not for the one-offs?
Yeah, absolutely. I ended up keeping my apartment in New York, and for a lot of reasons. Mainly, I'm an American. So the idea of moving to this whole other country, and it's being my first big international move, was very scary to me. And scary in a sense that I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to have a home to come back to. But holding on to my apartment was really important for me just through the adjustment period. And I just had like my brother stay there and pay me like just a minimal rent just to keep it going. And so I had that to come back to. And I always told my agents, I'll come back if I'm really needed. Like I will absolutely put the journey in, I'll come back. Luckily, the first few jobs that I ended up getting, they paid for travel anyway. So I didn't have to worry about it. I think it was Descendants that shot in Hawaii. So they flew me out that shot in Atlanta. So they flew me out there. And then there was another movie that was Vacation Friends 2. That shot in Hawaii. So they were flying me places. And I was like, okay, this is working out for me. I ended up also getting a UK agent at the time just for more local work. And being that I'm married to a Brit, it just made it easier for me to get a working visa here. So it all just fell into place in that way. So I would say if the opportunity stands and you want to consider moving, consider moving. I think you do have to have that honest conversation with your agents and your team on how you're going to handle certain roles. If you're do you want to consider yourself a local hire for New York? And I would still submit for some of those. They just never took, but I would still sometimes consider those roles, especially if it was like a juicy guest role. Yeah, I'll definitely be a local hire for that. Or even for Broadway. I ended up just putting myself up for Broadway because that was such a great opportunity to do Othello in New York City. So why not? Yeah.
Okay, I need to pick into these a little bit more since
it is of course. I know, I'm really jumping all over the time.
No, this is what we do. This is great. So I just want to catch the audience up that can't look right at your resume. So before you go to London, you're doing like an episode here, a couple episodes here, a couple of episodes here. You're working on some of the best shows. Hello, Homeland. Like that 4 episode arc is nice. Do
Mhm.
you feel like auditioning changes for you though once it goes to self-tape? Do you think you became more, it seems like I hate saying bigger jobs. I
Yeah,
even hate,
I
do you
know.
feel like the more momentum jobs came off of your self-tapes versus being in New York, and what changed audition wise for
You
you?
know what? I was always one of those actors that loved self-tapes. Yeah, I know a lot of, I was just like, if I can have total control of my audition, I will take that any day. So I would always ask my agents and managers if there's an opportunity for me to do a self-tape instead of having to go into casting room, especially because in New York, I had probably met every casting director already, so I didn't need to. Then I was like, I would much prefer to do that. And then I just found that I just felt so comfortable with those. So I don't know if going on tape is what changed it. I think it was just, there's definitely a point in my career where I definitely developed the confidence to just take charge of my audition. And I think that's what started working for me.
And
Even
what was the audition that helped that, or what was the coaching? Or do you think, again, I always say on this podcast, sometimes you just hit that 10-year marker and you're like, fuck it,
yeah,
I'm going to do this
maybe.
now. What was the turning point for you?
Or I was going to say, as Malcolm Gladwell would say, so maybe I hit 10,000 hours. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I do remember there was a point where I was doing audition coaching for almost every audition I got because I just wanted to do a really good job. So I would hire a coach, we would review the scenes, we'd do table work and just like really go through it. And then I just remember at one point, my coach is saying, at some point, you're just going to have to trust yourself. You don't really need me anymore. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And then when I stopped and just started trusting, just like I was like, all right, I don't need to review my table work with anyone. I've done this a million times. I know what my who, what, where is, when, and why is ours. And I just
Mhm.
started trusting that. And I think just trusting myself and owning whatever decision I made, whatever choices I made in the audition, I just owned it. And I didn't care whether, of course I cared, but like it was almost I just came out feeling good about it. I never felt any sense of regret. So that probably happened close to around the time before I started booking more of the major jobs. Uh,
Yeah, because
but it,
that's what I see a turning point. I always look at people's resumes and I'm like, whoa, 2020, we have 9 episodes of Blindspot. Did come before Mighty Ducks, or did Mighty Ducks come first as far as shooting and then came out later? Because you've got Mighty Ducks, you've
I
got
think Blind Spot
Blindspot.
was first. Blind Spot, Blind Spot, I remember happening. That one I went in person. I met the casting director and she said, she said, do you have any conflict? I was like, yeah, actually, I'm about to go on vacation tomorrow for a good 3 weeks. We were doing like this, we were going to England for this summer, spent 3 weeks in the summer. And she goes, okay, just so you know, if you book this, I was like, yeah, yes. It always happens whenever I book an audition. I'm always on vacations, like I'm used to it if I have to move. And then I remember getting a call and that they asked me to redo the tape while I was in England and we were camping. Like we were in like cabins in the woods and stuff. So I just ended up just quickly
What
putting this tape together. My daughter was 5 years old and I just had to tell my husband, just keep her outside, just keep her outside. And I
did you do
quickly
it in the tent?
I did. Yeah, it was like a small little cabin, but I just took a sheet, I laid it on a chair. You become MacGyver in those moments and you
Hmm.
just made it work. Yeah, and I just sent it in. And then of course they wanted me to cut my vacation short and fly out there. So that happened first. And then I think Mighty Ducks happened later. Gosh, I gotta look
So,
at the
so
events
for
now.
Blind Spot too, was this a one-off that turned into 9 episodes, or did you know it would be recurring? Did you know this? Because sometimes I think that I just think going on vacation, you have a different
Yeah.
focus. You have a
Yeah,
primary
I
focus.
didn't care about this audition at all. I just did it to do it because I was like, oh, I think I knew it was a recurring role. I didn't know how many
Mhm.
episodes. I knew it was recurring. It did say recurring. It wasn't like major recur or anything. It was just like recurring. I was like, cool, that sounds cool. So I went in and I think I had a few other auditions that day. So I was running around and I had to get back to finish my packing. So I was really more focused on my vacation and just doing it, which maybe
Always how it
that's the
works.
secret. So now I think the secret is to always just book a vacation
100%. Every time I
if you
tell
want
my
to book
agent, I
something,
was like, hey, I booked this. They're
right?
like, great. Can't wait. I can't wait to see what
What's going
comes
to
in.
happen? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I have specific ones that I want to know about, but when I say that one audition, what audition comes to
Yeah.
mind? And can you walk us through
That
it?
okay, so my very first television audition was with Ross Meyerson for, I believe it was Nurse Jackie. And it
Mhm.
was like the first time I got called in for something, and I was running late. Just because when you're first starting out, now I know like on time is late, arriving early is being on time. So it was just bad judgment in terms of timing and getting there. And I remember running from the subway station to the studio and just thinking, oh my God, I was 10 minutes late already by the time I got out of there. It's like he's gonna kill me, they're not gonna want to see me. And then I really considered not going in because I was so embarrassed to be late. I literally just stopped and thought, all right, if I bailed, that's okay. I'll just talk to my agents, blah, 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 blah. It'll be fine, it'll be fine. And I almost didn't go in because I didn't want, I was so embarrassed to be late. And then I was just like, I bet, just go. What's the worst that can happen? They just don't even look at you. And so I just went in and they were waiting for me. There was no one else. They were waiting for me. And I ran in and I was like, hi. And I remember thinking, don't apologize, just act normal. And I was like, hi. All right. And he was like, all right, whenever you're ready. And it was like that. And I was like, okay, they hate me. And I
Uh,
just did it. And then I just left. And I was like, okay, at least I got my first major audition out the way. And I ended up booking it, which was
I was gonna,
crazy.
and then you
Yeah.
end up, but I think again, I'm seeing a pattern where the primary focus isn't even on the audition. Do you know what I'm saying? Where
Oh
it's like
no.
sometimes that's what wins the job. Bonnie Hunt told a great
Yeah.
story where it's like her car door got ripped off going to an audition, and
Oh
that's the first
God.
audition she books, right? Because she couldn't, she was crying, she was hysterical, like all the things that was
Yeah.
so against the part. And they were like, this is an interesting take. And then she,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
just don't know how life is actually going to serve you if
Don't.
you just use it. Okay. I want to know, do you have more?
Do I have more? I have this other one. I remember I don't know if you've ever met Avie Kaufman.
I have not gotten to yet.
Okay. She doesn't even look at you when you walk in. It's one
Mm.
of those. Yeah. And I wasn't prepared for that. I was just really excited to go in and read for her. It was for a film, I believe. And I was just so excited. I was like, yeah, this is great. And I felt good about those. It wasn't a big role, but it was like my first time going in for a major film. And she didn't even look at me. And she must have been so busy. I took it so personal. I thought, oh my God, she hates me so much. I did my scene. And then in the scene, the character's name that I have to say is Gilly, right? It was the movie, I think the film was something about Gilly Hopkins. And I was like, okay, Gilly, take a seat. And this is the first time Avian looks at me. She goes, it's Jilly. And I was like, and I took it so personal that
Yeah.
whatever reaction they caught, it was what booked it, I would imagine.
That's
Oh
again the
no.
primary, the secondary, the focus of I just did an episode about that the other day. That's some of the things that I do miss about going in the room is the happy accidents, the mistakes, the discovery that happens right in that moment when you walk in
Right?
and you're like, oh God, they're not looking at me. Okay, that's going to change the way I do it right now versus us being at home doing the self-tapes, which I love.
Yeah.
But there is something
Miss
about
it. Yeah.
booking it off of ourselves versus the material. Something happens in those moments
I'm
that
so with you. It's a bit like you said, I love like being in charge of my audition. And I think I'm at a point where I can probably take charge of a room. I wouldn't take AB's reaction so personally anymore. I'm at that point where I understand you're busy, you've got a lot of other stuff going on. It's not me. Let me just come in and do my job.
yeah.
But you're right. I just miss being in a room. I miss the interaction. I miss the feedback, non-feedback that you get. You get a sense.
You get an energy. You can
That's
tell
it.
where you're
And
like,
it's
I
an
was
energy.
effective. Yeah, I was affecting and effective.
Mhm.
I can leave the day. Or
Yeah.
you have the reverse, right? Where you're like, they don't even care. And I got the
Yeah.
job. Wait, what? Like,
Right.
it just was always just that exchange of energy.
And it makes you ponder those moments too. And nowadays, what am I going to say about my tapes? So I did
We
my,
only have ourselves to contend with, or our lovely teammates.
which is my husband, who's not an actor.
Yeah, or your agents or managers, which they
Right.
might be submitting 30 auditions that day and watching 10 seconds of it, or they didn't read the sides, or they don't know the story. So
Yeah.
even if they really love your tape, do they, versus the casting director, producers, directors that are sitting there watching 30 people do the same
Right.
sides,
Yeah.
right? Or the same audition being like, oh no, that was actually really good. So we don't really have a litmus test
Nothing.
other
We've got
than
nothing.
your table work. So that's where I was really curious then about. So your audition for Othello was on.
That was on a tape as well because I was in London. Luckily, I knew the director and I've worked with the director in the past, and I think that helped a little. I'm sure it helped a lot. So I was able to put myself on tape for it. But doing theater on screen it's
That's
weird.
it's
It's
very
weird.
weird, and people. I'm curious how you approach that self tape. Did you give yourself more space? I want to get into
Definitely.
your table
Yeah,
work a little bit prior to doing
sure.
Othello versus thereafter. So if you'll give us the tea,
Oh,
okay, you
yeah, of
get this
course.
audition. What are we gonna do? And it's Othello. Did you know at this point that Denzel and Jake already attached?
Yeah, I knew that they were attached. I had that information. I just, knowing the director, I knew that I had to bring it down somehow for the screen, for the camera to capture, just because I
Mhm.
think if I were to do it the way I do it on stage, it would just look ridiculous.
Yeah.
It wouldn't translate very well at all. So I brought everything down and did
So
it
that
as
was
if
your
I was doing a
choice.
film, maybe a little stronger, maybe a bit more energetic, but it was definitely brought down in tone. And also, I did rely on the fact that he knows what kind of actor I am. So I think I had that bit of confidence going in. I knew that he wasn't going to judge me just based on this tape. He knew me previously from my other work, and we have worked together. So I was just hoping he would see truth. That's all I wanted to convey. I knew that I was just going in as like, he knows that he can work with me. And then if he needs something bigger from me, he'll bring it out. So all I focused on was just being truthful in that audition. But I got to say, it's weird doing that on
Mhm.
tape for a theater audition. But hey, I ended up getting the job. So
What were
something
the audition sides, or which part of the play did you
it
audition?
was it was the Bianca role, Bianca and
Okay.
Cassio role. And there's just one scene when they first meet. I think it was,
That scene where
yeah,
you guys
that
first meet.
scene.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't like in terms of lines, there wasn't much to it. So I just made sure that I was truthfully, I did my homework, broke down the scene beat by beat, trying to convey all the types of feelings and emotions that I could have in that for that one small scene, what I could do,
Mhm.
like just go full circle. And so I just tried to hit all those moments. And that's for me what my table work is just like going just
Mhm.
breaking down every want into an action for each line that we're given. And I always try to create an arc with it,
Yeah.
just to go have somewhere to go. I don't know if it's rocket science, but it seems to be working for me.
No, I do think that sometimes people have a different way into how they're doing their script analysis,
Yeah.
and then you get going for a little bit
I
and you get dependent on shortcuts or and sometimes
yeah.
just remembering the basics, even just arcing a scene. I think sometimes when I'm coaching or working with other actors, I'm like, okay, we're all here. Right? So
Yeah.
what journey? And I think for auditions, I think we have to show as much dynamic moments that we can, even if
So
that's not what lands, just so
right.
they can see, oh, they're available to do this wide
Right.
range.
She can hit here.
Yes.
She can go this major circle. She could do this circle. So that's great. I can work with that. And I think I go in knowing that if you can see the way I work, and if I'm
Mhm.
given four different scenes, I'm going to make sure each scene is so different, even if they sound similar. I'll find a way to make it. I'll create those moments just to show
Yeah.
you four different sides. Because to me, that's my opportunity to show you what I can do. Um,
100%. And I think that's especially with self-tapes, if we're not getting the redirect in the room,
oh
the
gosh, I know.
versatility that you can share, then they're like, oh, I can work with that on the day.
Yes. And then that becomes tricky too, doesn't it? And it's like, how many takes do you send in?
How many takes do you send in? How many do you do?
I really try to keep it to one. I will do two if I think it can go in two directions. And I find that when I send in two, I'm too heady, about
Yes.
something. Yeah, I'm being too
Yes.
heady. And I know, oh, I haven't really made up my mind. And I
Mhm.
feel like the ones where I'm like, nope, this is what you got. don't care if you don't like it. This is what you get.
I
Yeah.
couldn't agree
And
more.
those are the ones for me that land that feel really good.
That's a strong point of view. Except when they're asking for two takes now, sometimes I'll still just send one because I'm like, no, this is it. If I send the
Yeah.
two, then you're watching, then you're reminded that I'm acting versus this is
Yeah,
my point of view and what we're living in.
exactly.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a two-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
Okay, I know that you had worked with the director before, so you knew what to expect with Othello for that. But getting back into a rehearsal creation mindset of creating what's going to be seen on stage versus working on television and film, different muscle. Like you have to
Different.
bring versus everybody coming together, getting hired, rehearsing this and working it out.
Absolutely.
What did you learn getting up on stage with Othello, especially working
Well,
with some of the greats? What are some of the
yeah.
tools that you started working with?
I was trying to translate everything more physically. I think that's what you can do when you're doing theater. If I'm upset about something, how can I physically visualize what that looks like to the audience to convey instead of me being over the top? Or if I am longing for the character Cassio, how can I convey that? And I think my process was pretty much just trying to physicalize everything a bit more because we have to shout those lines too.
Yeah.
We are shouting so that the person up and those nosebleeds can hear us. And so it's not organic to me when I'm having this intimate moment with someone who's in my face like this. And we're supposed to be having this intimate moment, but I'm shouting at the top of my lungs. So to me, the only way that I can make that work was to try to find a physical way to show how I was feeling rather than just working. Like in film,
Yeah.
in television, I can just convey everything with a thought and it'll be in the eyes. And
Yes.
and then that's it.
And so then now, after doing Othello for a bit of time, walk me into some of your auditions thereafter, or did the process change for you?
Gosh, no, I feel like I bounced right back into it. I don't think I got pulled out of the world at all. If anything, I was probably relieved to go back to film and television just because
Mhm.
to me,
Good
I don't know,
vocal rest.
vocal rest, energy rest. It's a lot just going out there. I think it takes a toll on you physically. It really does. When they say theater actors, one of our biggest goals is try not to get sick. And we're all sitting back there taking energy shots or like vitamin C's and doing every concoction we can think of. I had this horseradish fire cider that I would chug every day. It was just horrible, but it's because we're so susceptible to getting sick because of the amount of energy that we're putting in. For me, that process, it's still so lovely. And I think what I find so rewarding about theater is this idea that we are all on that stage together. And so we're all trying to play on the same note. And it becomes more comfortable to me when I see that you're also shouting at the top of your lungs and trying to reach those seats and trying to make that moment so honest and truthful. So it becomes like this sense of play. And like we're all just finding there and we're all just trying to like vibe on the same frequency. And that's what I really loved about it. And that to me is what's really cool about theater. Whereas in film and television, I'm working with just this camera, a reader. Sometimes a reader is my phone when it's me playing back. So it's like me just visualizing everything. And then it's just my own frequency that I'm trying to match. And there is no frequency to match, really.
Yeah.
So to me, it was really fun to theater in that sense. And there's that sense of play. But coming back to, I think, I don't know, maybe I found it easier, so it was a bit more refreshing.
That's what I was
Crazy
thinking
to
after.
say.
No, but it's like running a marathon and then being asked, "Can you go run 200 yards really quick for me?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, no problem. Thank
Yes.
you. That's it? Do you need anything else
Yeah.
from me? Are you
Yeah.
sure?" I almost feel like you're underutilized there afterwards. Anything that we step into after. I want to know about the audition for Solo Mio.
Okay.
That's coming out. Also auditioned. I also put a lot of my girlfriends on tape for it. I also went on tape for it. So I know
Did
the
you?
sides. Yeah. I know the
Oh, wow.
sides for Donna. So just curious because that's coming out tonight.
How
That comes out
funny.
tonight, right? Yeah.
I think
March
on
10th.
streaming, yes.
Streaming tonight.
Yes, streaming tonight.
Cute
Ooh,
show. Ensemble cast.
yes.
Comedy. The sides weren't a lot. They weren't
No, they were choppy and short, weren't they?
very choppy and short. And I
But
think
that's
that
one of those I remember thinking there are 4 scenes. I'm going to do
Mhm.
something different with all of them. That's fun.
Yes, that's what, like, after running this marathon, right? And then that's why I wanted to pick at this audition,
Yeah.
also since it's coming out. But I think that's always the hardest audition to do. So, like, a couple lines here, a couple lines here. You know who
Mhm.
else is hired? I don't think, who ended up playing your husband?
That was Jonathan Rumi.
Jonathan Rumi. Okay, so walk us through throwing down a tape for this. Anything that you decide. I was in Budapest, so I was doing mine in a
Oh,
hotel.
nice.
Yeah, I was working in Budapest, so it was like, okay, where can I make this work at this moment?
Yeah. I remember I think it was in August, right? That's when the audition.
Hmm.
And so I had just gotten back from the Paris Olympics. So we took the train out to France because we can do that in London.
Yes,
You
you
take
can
the
do
train
that
to
from
Paris
California.
and
Yeah.
we went to the Olympics. And so I just gotten back and I remember it's audition, do turn around. I was like, oh, here we go. Like they want it right away. I don't honestly, that one. Again, I think I was just like really busy and focused on life and getting back into like it was home. I was trying to get my daughter back into the rhythm of some of whatever the summer had to offer and just getting unpacking and stuff. And I was like, let me just do this quick audition. I just remember it was 4 short scenes. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I was like, I'm just going to do four something very different on it. And
Mhm.
honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I just did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And I
did.
sent it in. I didn't even care. Like, I just didn't even think about it. I never asked for an update for it. Not that we got one anyway.
Not with self-tapes. I think that's the thing
Yeah.
that's a little tricky for some people, depending on if you have a focus or not, meaning outside of the industry, which I think is kids. I have a kid, so you can't really think about
Yeah.
when you fire off. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's when work really changed for me too. And your kid is now 5, 6, 7.
No, she's 11 now.
You have an 11.
She
Oh, wow.
grew. I know.
I have a 10-year-old.
Oh.
It's one of those things where I think when you have another focus, the
Mhm.
hours that you've been putting in,
Yeah, I'm always trying to cram it and like, all right, I have
yes.
this time slot because she's at gymnastics or something, or she's
Mhm.
in school, so I can do from here to here. Because then I have to start working out what's for dinner, do the pickup, do whatever after school care. You're right. So it's like my window has become a lot shorter. It used to be that I would spend days on my auditions, just decoding every word that was being said, writing out like the setting and stuff like that. This is what I mean when I did like my coaching with coaches, the breakdowns that we would do, the table work. It was just like
Mhm.
we would just create this whole world just for me to have a sense of reality when I read it. And you're right. Once you have a kid, that's out the window. Your time is gone. And so you just have to survive with what little time you do have. And sometimes you have more than one audition to put together. And some auditions do require a little more work than others.
And some just, you need to throw down a strong point of view and keep on moving. And also, I
That's
just think it's the hours, like you've already been riding the bike for a long time. You've already run a marathon. So
it.
jumping in and doing a quick mile, you can do that really
Yeah.
fast.
And this
Right.
was definitely one of those. I was like, I read it. I was like, I got it in my head. I know exactly what I need to do. And I just put it on tape and I did it by myself. I did it with my phone. I recorded my voice, like using this app. Had it because my husband was too busy to help me. And I just threw it together, threw in a cute dress.
And then in Italy working.
And then here I am. Yeah, there I was in
Right?
Italy.
It was Italy. That's where they were shooting.
That's right. It was in Rome and Tuscany, which I can't complain. That's pretty fabulous. Oh gosh, I
No.
love that you also read for it.
I think what I think is great. I just also, I think when you've been doing it for a long time, it's always interesting to see, oh, I'd love to see Julie's take. Oh, I'd love to see Rebecca's take. What did they
Right?
do? And I think that's where you sometimes end up learning the fastest that it is selection, not rejection. Really
Absolutely.
learning,
Yeah.
oh, that puzzle piece works for what we're doing right now, or that actress is in New York and the show is in Toronto and we can get her here in time to do this. We
Or
don't want
maybe
actresses from
simply because I
LA.
was in London, so that was more convenient for them. You just never know
Sure.
what the reasons are.
You
Yeah.
never know. And I just think what a great job sometimes as a casting director to be able to see such variety. And I love knowing when the audition goes wide versus staying in a select
Yeah.
narrow of what's going through. And I think
It
it's
would
really
be
helpful.
fun. Do you
Yeah.
know what? I remember when in my early days, Ross Meyerson had asked me to help him out
As a
during
reader.
audition. Yeah, as a reader. And at the end of the audition, he's like, I hope you got something from this. I called you in so that you could see the other side. And it was really, really interesting. Everybody did a great job. And that's after everyone left. Like, she was great, right? I was like, yeah, she was great. Nobody was bad. Everybody was great. And
Most
it was
people
really
usually aren't bad.
eye-opening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's when you realize, oh, this is like you said earlier, it's really not personal. Avi
Oh,
Kaufman, like the Kim Colemans of the world, there's certain casting directors that are auditory. They can hear, so they
yeah.
don't want to look at you. They
Yeah.
can just hear the rhythms. They've been doing it for so long. They know what they need to hear. And I think some of them can hear truth and
Yeah,
they don't
sure.
want
I'm
to
sure they
look.
can.
But I think that's just the duration of time of doing this is where you can start to realize that it's not a personal thing and you
Yeah.
just keep it going. What has kept you going?
What has
And
kept me going?
in the moments that do feel a little slow or stretched out in between,
Yeah.
is there a focus that you put somewhere else? Do you jump into a class? Do you give
Oh,
a
yeah.
shit? I'm
I'm
just gonna be
definitely one of
honest. Do you
those
even give a
people.
shit? Are you like, great, I have
I
like
give
a
so
year and
much
a half.
shit. Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Like, I care too much. And I has, okay, so I have read every self-help book you can read. I've like dove into meditation so deep just to calm the monkey in my head. I do a lot of self works, and I think that's really important just to keep a sense of balance. But also, yeah, when things are slow, I think I'm the first one to jump into a class. Like, I just enrolled myself in a directing class. Loved it. I love just being part of a group. I love the collaboration. I love just being in an environment where you're constantly learning. I'm not sure what keeps me going because I'm not going to lie. There are times when I sit there and I think, am I being delusional?
That's
If
what
things are so slow,
yes.
like, yes. And I really sit there and I question myself, what's the difference between a sign that something's not working versus perseverance and never giving up? I don't know. All I know is that based on my previous experience, I started out acting while I was working another job. So I had a professional job. I was in advertising for a while. And so acting was something that I just started doing. And then I gradually, a hobby became a side gig became a career kind of thing. But I remember like really just stopping myself throughout those moments and thinking, what am I doing? Like, I'm making so much money here. I have a career set out and this is the big unknown. And so there were times when I did tell myself I'm quitting acting and just went back to the job, but somehow it always got pulled back. And I remember after the second time of that happening, I just thought, wow, you really want to do this. You're just so much happier doing this, even though it's crazy and it's so unknown. There's just so much joy. I love what being an actor is all about. I hated working a 9 to 5. And so I guess the idea of having to go back to a 9 to 5 scares me
That's
so much. That keeps me going. No, I'm not
yes.
giving up. I don't care if I'm 75 when I book my next job. I'm not giving up.
Well,
But
I'd be
it's hard.
remiss to, it is hard. It is hard. I think 95% of this job is mental and 5% is talent. And I think a lot of people are very talented. And maybe 80% is mental and you've got like 15% that's just like, you cannot
Much of it is luck.
stop. Yeah,
I'm not
because you
going to
don't
lie. I
know.
mean, you said there's so many talented actors and people don't know of them. There's a huge number. everyone I worked on in Othello were talented, crazy talented.
Yeah, you worked with a friend of mine, Neil Bloods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yep. I
Neil.
was so sad not to get out
Crazy
to see you
talented.
guys. Yeah, immensely talented. That man needs to live
Yeah,
on a stage. Like we were in class together, watching
yeah,
him in class. That stage is where he thrives, really, truly.
yeah.
I was gonna ask, because I'd be remiss not to say, like you were like the second time I got pulled back in, what would pull you back into being like, no, acting's the main lane versus advertising?
I think what pulled me in was just that I was so burnt out and so miserable with advertising. And I remember what had happened when I told them I'm quitting my advertising job. They threw a promotion and like an insane amount of money at me. And I remember just thinking, I don't want it. Like, I just don't want it. Yeah.
And
That's not
had
what
you
I
booked
want.
anything as an actor yet at that
No,
point
I
when they
mean,
threw the money at you?
no, they thought I was crazy. They knew I had done a few commercials here and there. Oh, and I probably did Nurse Jackie, like white collar. So I hadn't really, hadn't really started the ball rolling with with acting that much. So it was mostly like I would say smaller jobs that I was doing, but I was just so miserable. And then I just thought, this is what I want to do. And it was a crazy decision. It was a hard decision. And yet, there are still times when I'm like, okay, this is a long stretch without hearing from anyone, longer than I'm used to, especially because I don't know about you, but it was different. This time, like before pre-COVID, during pilot season, I'd be so busy. We wouldn't be able to
Really
talk
busy.
right now, right?
No, not at all.
We'd
Especially
be
now,
reading three
aren't
auditions
you?
a week, at
Yes.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be bumping. This would be right when it's getting hot because they just worked through their name list and then
Yeah,
they'd
of
be
course.
getting the
Now they're
working
starting, yeah.
actors. Yep. And we would be getting audition after audition. Now it's okay. When April or May rolls around, when films start going or streamers
Yeah.
pick up, you'll start
Mhm.
seeing. And I just think also it's, yeah, we're just watching the industry just shift. And I think it's
Yeah.
the seeds that we've planted. I'm grateful that you were honest about, yeah, I worked with the director of Othello before. I think it's really good
Yeah.
for people to see. You just don't know where your next job's coming from. And I think how you operate in a job environment is what continues you to make that into a career.
Right.
We can really
Yeah,
connect the
absolutely.
dots throughout. I think a lot of women in our category right now that have gone from show to show are having a bit of a crisis
Yeah.
of wait, is this it? Are we done? Do we have a
Yeah.
moment? Do
And
we
also
keep
we're
going?
transitioning in the moment too, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but for me it's about, all right. So I remember the first time I was like, oh, I can play a mom now. And then it's,
Mhm.
oh, I can play a mom to an 8-year-old now. Oh, I can play a teenager's mom now. And so you're starting to fade, it's coming to terms with that reality too. And then also just trying to learn who you are now. And it's constantly evolving, I feel like
It
constantly.
is. And the industry, thankfully, is evolving a little bit with it. Are you starting to write and direct? Did I see that you directed something?
Yes, yes. I'm starting to write, I'm trying to produce as well. That's a whole nother ball game as
It
well.
is.
That's
It
hard. And
is.
that's a lot harder when you have a kid. I was writing so much before my daughter was born, crazy amounts. And then the minute she came along, it's just you do have to take a pause and really find your time. And then writing is one of those things where you have to consistently do just to stay in that groove and that mindset. I find it personally hard. I can't take a break for 3 days and come back and just pick up where I left off. It's like you have to, do you
Mhm.
get what I'm
I
saying?
do. I read this great quote just yesterday and it made me feel better. So I'm going to put it on mic. I'm sure. And if you haven't read this, comparing ourselves to women that have careers without children is just almost a slap in the face.
Yeah.
We are still going to do it. It just might take us a little bit longer because
Yeah.
we're creating two legacies,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
child and whatever you're writing. So it's just taking a little bit longer because we're doubling down on two
And
legacy
then we're
projects.
also trying to be actors at the same
Yeah.
time,
So I think that
manage the house.
it gave me
It's a
some
lot.
grace where I was like, there's only so much you can do in a day. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for the opportunities that come through that I don't have to fuss about anymore. And then I also am like, you've got 3, 4 years before she's not really in
I
need
know. I know.
So what a
It's
precious
crazy.
time while still working, right?
Yeah,
Just coming off of Broadway. That was just last year, wasn't it? Or was it the year before?
no, that was last year. I
It was
came back
just
in
last
June.
year.
And I had to make the hard decision of leaving my family here. So I was away from my daughter for 6 months, which is really hard. Then they came to visit in between, but I couldn't leave at all. So that was hard, but again, we were able to do it. And I think she's at an age where she can appreciate. Also, what I tell myself is that I'm a role model for her now, too. So she's seeing how we can make really tough, hopefully, she sees that not
Mhm.
every decision is going to be very easy. Sometimes we have to make little sacrifices just to keep a career going, also. And so I'm just hoping there's a good takeaway in all this.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I have a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
How do you celebrate when you got Othello or when you finished it? How are you someone who celebrates when you get the job?
No. Should I?
It's interesting to see
Yeah,
who
I
doesn't.
have to, and I have to, I'm so bad at that. I don't know what it is. And I have to, and I reminded myself, like, it's like, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm not excited. It's just that I'm still processing. And
Mhm.
so the first thought that I go through, and I will tell you, the first thought that I got when I heard about Othello is like, all right, so how am I going to do this with my daughter? How are we going to plan this?
Mhm.
I got to make sure there's a calendar set out for her. So I'm running through all those things in my mind. And I remember my agent was like, yeah, you got it. I was like, oh. And they're like, wait,
Same.
should we call you again and try
They're
that
like,
again? I
take
was like, oh,
two.
God,
We're
I'm so
gonna.
sorry. But I'm
Yeah.
just going through logistics in my mind.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I am pretty bad about that. Yeah, it's hard for me to celebrate.
I completely get it. I completely get it.
Yeah.
Okay, most memorable first day experience. Which project?
Do you know what? Being on Orange is the New Black was crazy. I have to say that was the first time I realized when I got on this, said, holy cow, this entire thing is being run by women. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like everything, everybody from PAs to the camera crew, the DPs, the grips, everybody was just a female. And it was so freaking cool, I thought. I just remember being wowed by that, by the female power on that set.
And how efficiently do your days go?
Yeah, what's that?
How efficient were your days with it being run by
We
females?
got through it. Yeah, we got through it.
Yes. Funniest way you've gotten a job.
Funniest way I've gone.
Funniest way you've gotten a job.
Gosh. Funniest.
I love your way of just running in late and you're like, I'm not
I
apologizing.
know.
And then you got the job. That's pretty
And
epic.
I
But
remember thinking I should probably apologize, but then I remember someone saying, don't ever apologize. It makes you look weak. So I didn't apologize, but I really wanted to apologize. I
yeah.
think that was pretty funny. Honestly, running in late and just being like, okay, I'm here. Where do I go? And you could tell they were just like literally sitting there, like doing this on their chest, just
Uh-huh.
waiting. And I was like, oh God. And then
Oh,
acting like nothing ever happened. Oh,
I
great.
know. Okay, favorite actor you've worked with, learned from. And what did you borrow?
So many. I've worked with a lot of great actors. I there really are too many to name. Emilio Estevez was so lovely. He really is just so. Kevin James is amazing. I gotta say, he is so like genuine and giving, and like how he appears on TV and on film is exactly how he is in real life. He's just like one big, like he's all about family. So I just always feel so welcomed when I work with him. And I've worked with him twice now. I worked with him on his sitcom for a couple episodes. I
Mhm.
have to work with him in this. And each time it's just been so wonderful. And I think he brings this energy to the set that just creates such joy and comfort. And he invites the sense of everybody's welcome, your ideas matter too. So there is just this massive sense of collaboration when he's around. And I got to say, both productions that I've worked on with him had that energy. And I think I always say it's the number one on a call sheet that kind of sets the tone
I
always.
agree.
'Cause I've been
I
on some
love
pretty heavy feeling sets.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
lovely coach always says, ego, great killer of creativity.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
have no ego, that creativity can really flourish and
Yeah.
shine. Okay, which role do you wish you could steal, Julia? You are sitting over there in London. You're like,
I
you know
want
what?
to be Cersei Lannister. I can't get over that show. It's so awesome. I've watched it 3 times already in its
Have you really?
entirety. Yeah, I have a
Wow.
problem. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I know, but a good time period, a good,
Gosh,
yes,
everything. It's like time period, but also fantasy and just, it's just,
all of
she's
it.
like the greatest villain that ever existed.
I do think we're getting a lot more good fantasy coming down the pipeline. So that'll
Good,
be interesting
good.
to see. Last one, because these are rapid fire. Do you have any audition superstitions?
Oh my
Like,
God, yes. I have so many.
do
Okay,
you?
so
I want to
one
hear.
thing I always do the minute an audition is done is I rip up that script and I throw it in the garbage can. And I know some people do the opposite, like they hold on to it. But
Hmm?
no, for me, it's like that's done. And I literally sit there and tear it into pieces and I throw it in. It's done. It's done. It's out of, I'm just depositing it into the universe. And I just don't want to hear from it until it's meant for me to hear back.
Did you
But
used to do that in the room too? I used to do that in the room.
yes,
It's
on the
like
way out,
done
I would
and
just
on the
rip
way out.
it and throw it out.
Yep.
Yes. And then I'm one of those people that I have to memorize my scenes. I love it. And
Yes.
I know
But
they always say you don't have.
are you a memorization first before the table work? Are you still doing the full elaborate table work? Or are you doing it as you're memorizing?
I will do a preliminary table work
Mm.
first, and then I will start memorizing. And I always do it by rote. And then as I'm memorizing, so many ideas come to mind that the table work will continue as well while I'm doing that, and then finally put it on its feet. But I'm just such a huge fan of knowing what I'm saying. There's something about cold read that's really refreshing too and really fun to do. And sometimes if you just don't have the time, you just do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can serve you. Sure. I like to tape rehearsal because I feel like
Oh, really?
that's the one sometimes where, especially if I'm working with a reader or if I'm working with somebody else, sometimes you can
Yeah.
discover stuff and that's where it pops off.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that yeah, when I can sit with it just a little bit more. Because my
Yeah.
ideas sometimes will come, I used to call it the windshield audition. When you like had left the audition in the room and on the
Yeah.
way home, you'd all of a sudden have this like epiphany of a great idea where you're like, oh
Yes.
my God,
Oh,
I
yeah,
would
I should
have,
have done that.
and maybe if I get the call back, I can write that down. So I
Yeah.
feel like I try to take a lot of those from my last audition and I put them into this next audition where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have. And then I look at that list. I wish I would have's.
Okay. That's
And I
interesting.
play with, does that work for this audition? Is that something that I wanted to bring in here? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you're just at home. You're just playing ball with yourself. So
Honestly, you really are. And so you just have to make these discoveries on your own again, because you're not really, for me, you're not always working with a reader anymore to give. So you're really working with your own imagination, but it's sometimes refreshing to have other people to work
yeah.
off of.
And
Yeah,
is there a reader app that you use when you say that you use
I
your own?
do. Do you
What
know
is?
cold read?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I use it to help me like just go over my lines as well. But sometimes when I don't have a reader, you know what I'll do? If I need a male voice, I'll just record my husband on it as well. So it sounds like a reader, like someone else differently. But sometimes I just don't have a reader. And like I said, there's not many people I can ask around here where I am right now. It's not necessarily a big actor environment where it's not LA. Nobody's the guy
Mhm.
who lives 2 doors down is not an actor. So I just have to like fend for myself. But it seems to work. I'm
I
sure it's
was just gonna
annoying
say
for
it's working great. So you don't have to, don't touch it. If it's not broken, you don't have to fix it.
Oh, but a superstition I have about it is like because when you save a scene on the cold read, you have to write like this scene name. And so I have this superstition that I have to write the character's name on it.
Mhm.
It's the
Okay.
weirdest thing because I can name it obviously whatever I want. I can call it scene one, scene two, but I have to put I have to see the name of the character for it to like deep. I don't know why. It's
For
just
it to
weird.
sink in.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know.
No,
Just
I
yeah.
like, so you wrote down Donna when you
I
did.
did. I wrote down
Wrote,
Donna.
wrote down
Donna one,
Donna,
Donna two, Donna three.
Donna, Donna 4. I'm really excited to see how this came together. How was the actual, what can you say about the movie so that everybody that's getting ready? I feel like this was a fun like Sunday or Saturday afternoon watch.
It really is. Honestly, I was really pleased with just how touching and heartwarming it turned out to be. It's a fun, easygoing movie. And I think there's so much heaviness out there. Like even yesterday, I was flicking through Netflix and I was like, what am I gonna watch? Everything was so depressing, which is great. I love a big, heady show. But sometimes you just need a little bit of that escapism, right? And I think Solo Mio is that. It's light, but it's heartfelt, and it just really just makes you feel it's a feel-good movie.
And it's beautiful. Let's just
And
say
it's shot in
that.
Rome. Yeah.
It's beautifully shot. Where can everybody follow along and tell you how much they love the movie? Are you on the
Oh,
Instagrams?
you
All
can hit
over
me on
there?
the Instagram, Julee Cerda. Yeah, pretty much.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So nice talking to you.